Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the October meeting of the Standards Committee. I'll ask our clerk, Louise Smith, to read out our housekeeping notices, please.
Thank you, Chair. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council website for a minimum of 6 months. The meeting may also be recorded or streamed for live or subsequent broadcast by members of the public, although ultimate discretion in this matter lies with the Chair. For those in the room, please note that if the fire alarm sounds, please exit the building by way of the nearest available signed fire exit route and make your way to the assembly point in the front car park of this building. Finally, please ensure background noise is kept to a minimum. Mobile phones and other devices are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. For those in the room, this includes turning off microphones when not in use and turning down the volume on your laptops completely. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody here and to our member of public attending. My name is Vanessa Ricketts. I'm the chair. To my right is Councillor Chapman-Law, the vice chair. And with us tonight, I have Councillor Connolly to my right, and to my left, Councillor Armstrong, Councillor Wright, Councillor Waite, our monitoring officer, who is Robin Watson, and our deputy monitoring officer, Richard Jones. Online tonight, we have Councillor Patterson West and our independent person, Mr. Ian Sibley. I'd also tonight like to welcome Mr. Simon Gocher, who is our external investigator. Thank you for attending tonight. I will go on to agenda item 1. Can I ask, please, Louise, if there are any apologies for this meeting?
Yes, Chair, we've received apologies from Councillor Nanova, who's being substituted tonight by Councillor Waite.
Thank you very much. So that takes care of agenda item number 2 as well, which is our substitute members. So we'll go on to agenda item 3, declarations of interest. Members, do you have any declarations of interest? And if so, what actions do you propose to take? Thank you. All quiet, so that's good. There's no declarations of interest. Thank you very much. So we'll go on to item number 4, which is the minutes of the last meeting. And this is to propose the minutes as a correct record. Could I have a proposer and a seconder for those minutes, please, if you're all happy? Councillor Armstrong, thank you very much. And Councillor Chapman-Law, sorry, Councillor Armstrong.
Apologies, Chair. It wasn't to propose or second. It's just a comment that I wasn't at the last meeting, so I can't comment on whether the minutes are accurate or not. But I wondered whether, as part of the meeting, whether we could get an update on the issues regarding mandatory training, like the actions that were committed. That was all I wanted to ask. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We don't have an agenda item for matters arising from the minutes. I can advise you that I have been invited to attend audit and governance to discuss mandatory training, so that will happen. But thank you very much. So do I have a proposer? Councillor Chapman, are you happy to propose? And Councillor Wright has indicated that he's happy to second. Is everybody in favour of accepting those minutes as a true and accurate record? Yep, thank you. There's no dissent. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is the public issues. Louise, can I ask about any public issues, please?
Yes, Chair, we've received 4 questions and 1 statement from Mr. McKinstry.
I'd like to invite Mr. McKinstry to come to the table, please. Welcome. Nice to see you again. And please, could you start off with your questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. Yes. First question, this relates to agenda item 6, which is the Code of Conduct Complaints Review. 5 complaints have been closed after the councillor who was subject to those complaints failed to apologise as directed by this committee. The Constitution is silent on how to proceed in such situations, but the convention until now has been for the non-compliance to be referred to this committee, after which a report is almost always issued to full council, naming the councillor and sketching out their misconduct. This has been the practice on this committee since the 15th of December 2021. Why then has there been a change of approach? Was the committee consulted in advance on this new approach which entails closing the complaints and then inviting complainants to submit further complaints under 8.4 of the code? And did the committee support this new approach unanimously? Can you also clarify if this is how matters of non-compliance are to be dealt with henceforward?
Thank you, Mr. McKinstry. Since 2019, we've seen a number of complaints taken an excessive amount of time to resolve as a result of non-compliance or a lack of cooperation with the process. You are correct that we have previously resolved to refer non-compliance complaints direct to full council. It was considered by officers that this was still an exhaustive process and in the view of the former monitoring officer, outside the scope of the agreed arrangements by which may only determine complaints against alleged breaches. Neither I nor the committee was made aware of this change of approach, and this is not necessarily a view that I take, as the LGA guidance on the Code of Conduct states that under the Model Code of Conduct, failure to comply with a sanction may of itself be a breach of the code. We will consider the action to take against any non-compliance reported within the Code of Conduct Complaints Review report as part of our deliberations this evening. We are also planning to review our arrangements for handling complaints, and this is one aspect that needs to be reviewed as part of that process. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Second question, have any responses been received from the subject councillors in complaints BCP 220, 221, 224, 226, 227 or 228 since the agenda papers were published on the 29th of September 2025?
Again, thank you for your question. Since the publication of the agenda, officers have received responses from the subject councillors relating to complaints referenced BCP 221 and BCP 224.
Okay, third question. Noting the seriousness of the upheld allegations in complaint TPC 021, including bullying, disclosure of confidential information, and attempting to use one's position as a councillor to confer an advantage, can we be told which town or parish council was involved?
Yes, I can advise that complaint referenced TPC 021 related to a Christchurch town councillor.
Okay, and final question, this relates to agenda item 8. What was the sum paid to the investigator or his limited liability partnership for his work on complaint TPC 022, and is this inclusive or exclusive of VAT?
The invoice sum paid for the investigation of complaint TPC 022 to date, exclusive of VAT, is £7,118.50. Thank you. Mr. McKinstry, I understand you also have a statement.
I have indeed. This again relates to agenda item 6. The closing of complaints where a councillor hasn't complied with sanctions is catastrophic for this committee. There is now no incentive for errant councillors to comply with the Code of Conduct, other than the possibility that a further complaint might be made against them under Part 8.4 of the Code. I comply with any sanction imposed on me following a finding I have breached the Code. I've seen nothing to indicate that these subsequent complaints won't be closed either, should non-compliance continue. And of course, this new approach means justice postponed, if indeed the complainant decides to make a further complaint anyway. I only hope that should recalcitrance persist, such members will be named at full council with a detailed description given of their original misconduct to be entered into the minutes as a permanent record. Nothing in the current constitution prevents this.
Thank you very much, Mr. McKinstry. We now go on to agenda item 6, which is a Code of Conduct Complaints Review. The report provides members with an update on complaints regarding alleged breaches of the Code of Conduct against councillors received or concluded since the last report to the committee in July 2025. I'm going to ask the Deputy Monitoring Officer to introduce the report, but I'd also at this point like to welcome Mr Paul Cashmore, our second independent person, to the meeting as well. Good evening, Paul. It's nice to see you here.
Good evening. Thank you. Apologies for being late.
Not at all. No problem at all. Can I please hand over to the Deputy Monitoring Officer for this report, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome members. Through you, Chair. So agenda item 6, Code of Conduct Complaints Review. This is the standard report that you received at each of your committees, providing an update on the progress of the complaints since the last meeting. Previously, closed complaints are removed from this schedule. Just to clarify, for those complaints where we have sought a response from the subject councillor, as referred to in the public participation session, but that response has not been forthcoming, these will be referred to your next meeting of your consultation meeting in the absence of a response in accordance with the arrangements for handling complaints. There are a number of pending complaints in the schedule which will also be referred to that next scheduled meeting towards the end of October. It's the standard report, Chairman, so I won't say any more in that regard, but happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members, are there any points that you would like to raise on this report, please? Councillor Connolly.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the best time to do it or not, but I just wanted to reiterate my concerns about the closing of cases where they didn't follow the sanctions and just kind of ignored it, and whether or not we really do consider them to be closed, or if there can be another category for maybe not on your list. I appreciate from an administrative perspective why you wouldn't want them to be top of a long list, but I think calling them closed probably doesn't sit right either. So, I mean, can we come back to this as a committee? But I'd be really keen to think about ways in which we can make sure that they're not just forgotten and that there's some other way of reporting those that have just ignored sanctions. I mean, I do think it is really important for when it comes to elections, the public get to be the ones who decide. But if the public have no idea if their councillor is a bully or not, then the residents aren't able to make an informed decision. So we need to think of a way of getting it somewhere public somehow.
Thank you. Yes, I quite agree. We've always named and shamed when it's been a case of this, as we have form for doing this, we have procedure for doing this. Does anybody else have any comment on this? Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to pick up on what a member of the public, Mr McKinstry, put within the statement that he's just read out. And I have to totally agree with him that we need to get much tougher upon those, those that don't comply. And I wonder whether, as a recommendation, that we could bring this, because it isn't mentioned within the Constitution, whether it's something we could take to the Constitution Working Group and explore and see if we can get something put in the Constitution to address it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we are going to be doing the review of the process, and that will go straight to council. It doesn't have to go to the Constitution Working Group. I believe I'm correct in saying that, aren't I, Richard?
You are part 6, the Code of Conduct and the arrangements are your responsibility as a committee. So you would make the recommendations for those changes.
Thank you. And I have also asked the interim monitoring officer to expedite this review, because we have been promised it for quite some time. And I know that we've had changes in personnel, but I really would like to get this done as soon as possible. We always said that we wanted to be able to have the ability to name people who have breached the code of conduct at the first off, before the sanctions have been complied with, so that we have a report that states that these are the people that have breached the code of conduct, and that's something that we've all agreed on. Tonight, obviously, we do have this failure of compliance within this report. We do have a consultation meeting, and at the end of the month, and what we've done in the past as well is taken non-compliance to that consultation meeting and then agreed through that consultation meeting the actions to take. And I'm wondering whether that could be an answer for tonight. Can I ask your opinion, please, monitoring officers?
Through you, Chair, I'm more than happy to bring that report to you, or those complaints to you of non-compliance to your next consultation meeting. It will be a lengthy meeting, but we may need to schedule a second one.
How do members feel about that? I mean, obviously tonight we have our hands tied a little bit because the action within the agenda is to note the report rather than to be able to create a resolution. But that we can certainly refer this matter to the consultation group, to our consultation meeting, and then consider it further at that meeting.
I basically echo that. That's what I was thinking. We haven't got the time tonight, and that's not what we're doing tonight. It needs a lot longer discussion, and there definitely does need to be, well, if it were me, far worse sanctions than just naming them. But that's just me. But yeah, it needs a longer discussion, I think.
Okay, thank you. I would like it minuted as well, though, please, that we do feel that the review should be, the review of the code of conduct process of complaints should be expedited. We really need to have that for the next meeting, I think. Yeah, Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. For those people that are listening at home, please can you confirm when that consultation meeting will be? And also, I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that we've got several complaints that are now coming there, just to highlight the fact that people are waiting quite a lot of time in between decisions being made about their complaint. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we do have a number of complaints which are pending, which we will be reviewing, I understand. And as to whether, you know, those members have actually come back as well, we need to review that as to see whether they've actually responded to our monitoring officers' communications to ensure that we get a response back. But the meeting is due to be held on the 27th of October. We've all received a invitation for that. Of course, that meeting is held for members of the public at home. That meeting is held in confidential session as we review the complaints that are before us. Thank you. Is there anybody else that has anything to say on this part? Yes, Richard.
Chair, just in case anybody is watching this who is has submitted a complaint, clearly, if you determine complaints at that 27th of October, it's not an instant communication out. It will take up to a week. So by the end of the first week of November, anybody who has submitted a complaint, which is determined at that 27th of October, will receive a reply.
Excellent. Thank you for that clarification, Richard. So we have a recommendation here. And I'm scrolling. Thank you. The recommendation, it's recommended that the outcome of concluded complaints and the progress of those still outstanding be noted. I'm happy to propose that from the chair. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Connolly, thank you. All in agreement? Yeah, lovely. No dissent on that. Thank you very much. Thank you. We now move into confidential session for the consideration of a report in respect of Code of Conduct complaint TCP 002. Under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following item of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraphs 1 and 2 in part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act, and that the public interest is withholding the information outweighs such interest in disclosing that information. Again, I'm proposing the exclusion of the public from the chair. Please, can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Wright. We've got Councillor Waite and Councillor Wright sat next to each other. Thank you very much. We will now go into confidential session. Thank you. welcome back to our members of the public. I hope you can hear us. We have received the report from our external investigator regarding the Code of Conduct complaint TPC 022. The recommendation in relation to the complaint is that the findings of the independent investigator that the subject town councillor did not breach the council's code of conduct be accepted and no further action be taken. I can confirm that this has been accepted by this committee and we agree with the recommendation, so resolved. Thank you. We now go on to agenda item number 9, which is the work plan, and I'm going to ask the Deputy Monitoring Officer for any updates to the published work plan, please.
So again, Chair, obviously with the former monitoring officer leaving, we haven't progressed a number of these issues, so it really would be good to get some dates associated with this. At the bottom of the page, forgive me, it's on page 105, I think, of the pack, lists the future dates. The next scheduled meeting is the 20th of January, and then the one after that is the 17th of March. We did say that we may wish to schedule an additional meeting subject to the outcome of council next week in relation to the community governance review for maybe late November, early December, so that can still be arranged. The second item on the list, the review of the Code of Conduct complaints procedure, you've already identified as a priority, so we will need to look at that and probably bring that one certainly to the 20th of January at the latest. But really in relation to the other points on there, some of them will be next year. The annual report will be for the first meeting normally of the new municipal year to you. We may not be able to cover all of those issues by the 17th of March between the interim monitoring officer and myself, but I guess it's a priority list in that list, so then we can look at that for your future meetings.
Thank you. Do members have any points or any questions on the work plan? No? Okay, well, thank you very much. That then concludes our meeting tonight. I'd like to thank our independent persons for attending, and also for our external examiner, Mr. Gocher, for attending. Thank you, members of the committee. Thank you to our member of the public, and thank you to our officers. Thank you. Good night.
Good night to you all. Thank you.